Welcome, welcome, my dear and handsome viewers. Welcome to a Propagandacast Addendum with me, your host, Imperial Dane. Right off here with my thoughts on the March deployment patch. I have been slightly asked, you know, what are my thoughts on this patch? What on earth do you think of this huge series of changes? Because, I mean, the March deployment patch really has, you know, done a lot to the game. I mean, it's all suddenly thrown off the rug from under a lot of people who all of a sudden are like, oh, scheisse, what am I supposed to do now? Because, you know, I mean, there's been some massive core changes, basically how infantry fighting is done. Cover is a lot more important, flanking is a lot more important, advancing using cover all of a sudden has also become massively important. I mean, all those things really make quite the difference in the game. How you approach something, how you attack, how you think of the terrain. But previously cover was just something to hide behind, now it's all something to advance to, move through. I mean, usually you just go down here, but say if you want to attack, you might actually stick up here much more. Negative cover certainly become a lot more perilous in that department. And of course, the true side has also then become a lot more interesting, because all of a sudden now it really becomes more important. They can all of a sudden spring an ambush on the opponent, getting off a few good shots. Close combat units like Pioneers, for example, really benefit from it, for example. Since again, you know, now they can also be cut down more easily, but at the same time, well positioned, well hidden. And they can all of a sudden get to jump down the opponent with their submachine guns. And in that department, it does add quite a bit to the game. Of course, it also adds quite a few shocks for a lot of players, in particular the ones who perhaps weren't quite knowing what to expect. The usual tactic of just running straight at your opponent has pretty much, well, taken a bit of a knee to the groin. If you do that, you'll usually end up with quite a few casualties. So in that department, there's been a few changes, including ultimately results in a lot more different things. Sandbags, for example, have become a lot more important for the Soviets. Now they actually give more an advantage, where the Germans just can't rush up to you and negate it immediately, which is, you know, pretty damn great. Heavy cover all of a sudden gives you an advantage. And here we go. I mean, already here, one engagement. The conscripts quickly drop one grenadier. And then again, we see furthermore, I mean, now there's also a much greater difference here between German and Soviet infantry. And I'll just explain what that is. Pausing, in fact, sort of, so we don't have all the shooting going on. But right here, I mean, the difference is now, where previously conscripts and grenadiers were actually sort of close to each other in terms of damage and health in different ways. So the difference was basically conscripts could have taken more explosive damage, whereas the grenadiers just, you know, were a bit more better at soaking up bullets. I mean, now grenadiers are overall not that stronger. They're 4 men. Each man has the same health amount as conscripts. On the other hand, the conscripts just have more health, meaning conscript squad overall is tougher, which means if well positioned, you can actually outlast your opponent. On the other hand, grenadiers do more damage, and certainly that's what a lot of people led to a lot of sort of, oh dear, what am I supposed to do here sort of situation. Because again, for a long period of time, the standard strategy has pretty much just been running your conscripts straight at your opponent and then getting them killed, which, unsurprisingly, of course, you know, now gets your conscripts killed quite natively, because just as for these, just moving up, then again, noting here, 1 conscript's lost, 3 grenadiers already dead. I mean, there's a massive difference now in sort of what cover can do for you, and overall what units can do. Yes, conscripts won't do as much damage as grenadiers, but again, well positioned, well thought out. They can actually do a lot of damage. So overall, I mean, in that department, I'm really liking this patch, because overall I can do a lot more interesting things. Tactics, cover and all that become a lot more interesting, a lot more fluid. And overall, if I actually have a good position there, I'm actually off much better than I previously were, again, where one common tactics would just run straight at you. I mean, now, for example, if I hold a good position, I can actually see off a much larger force. I can even see off infantry that's much stronger than me. So there's a lot more to it now. And again, that's the fun part. That is the very fun part. So overall, I mean, I'm quite impressed with this patch, of course. Again, for a lot of people, it's not quite so. There's a lot of panicking, a lot of mumbling, a lot of grumbling, because all of a sudden they have to deal with a lot of things there. And there certainly seems to be a slight misconception here that conscripts are worthless, which I'd argue they aren't. You know, they just can't be used the same way they used to be. It doesn't mean they're useless, just, you know, different. So, I mean, overall, we've gotten a lot more of a tactical game here. We're good. Again, all sorts of views of terrain becomes a lot more important. Now masking your advance, while your advance is great, smoke has become a lot more important. A lot of things have become a lot more important, and pioneers all of a sudden are bloody pioneers. That's great! I mean, overall, I'm quite liking this patch. I mean, infantry combat really has been revitalized. Yes, there are some issues, admittedly, some things that need to be looked into, but overall, I'm just liking it.
There are no cowards here.
Overall, partly because I'm just not having an easier time as the Russians, which actually consisted for a longer part of the game just poaching over my opponent in the early game. And our German players have more of a chance of stopping down the Russian player overall. So I mean, there's some slight strategic and tactical changes that sort of has to be sort of adapted by Russians, which of course some are having a slightly harder time actually getting around too. But again, there's a lot of tools, mines are still viable, and of course now sandbags are a lot more worth it than the previous were. So I mean, overall, I'm quite liking the March deployment. Yes, it's going to need some more tweaking, but overall it's a huge step forwards. Because again, it's only made a lot more units more, viable. It had more to the game overall. So, I mean, really, just give it a go and just have at it. Try to sort of change up your tactics if one thing isn't working. Keep sort of trying to figure out, because ultimately, I mean, a lot of the game has sort of been changed in that department. You need to sort of be able to sort of willingly to grasp at it and try to change. If you don't, I mean, you're obviously going to fail. So I mean, in that department also, I mean, all of a sudden with Sultan also, for example, a good serve player can much more easily actually keep up with the German team as the Germans do more damage, surprisingly enough. And there's a lot more to it that way. So, there you go, I would say. Just a sort of little brief overview on my thoughts on the patch again, just a few moments in the opening game again, because largely, I mean, this is all about infantry, this is all about the damage they do, which has been overall increased for all units. And overall, it's just fun. Really, really good fun. Yes, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be headaches, there's going to be moments of frustration, but overall, I mean, you just have to sort of go, alright, I just need to sort of change a bit here and try my way forwards. I mean, overall, it's a game that's gotten a lot more interesting, and you just sort of need to accept that, again, you can't just do what you previously did, and well, that's for a part, to a certain extent, also good, because previously, Scram was rather easy to execute. Now, oh dear, you actually have to like think about it. And same with Grenadier experiments, only not quite straightforward either, though again, I mean, a lot of players sort of then try to just do what they previously did, and unsurprisingly get cut down. So again, change up your tactic again, be a lot more mindful of the terrain. That's really one of my primary bits of tips here. Be more mindful of the terrain, be better at using it to mask your advance, use True Sight more, and also if you're the Soviets, sandbags. They can really make a massive difference for you. Now in particular, if there's no other heavy cover nearby, then it's all of a sudden a huge advantage. And of course, barbed wire again. Barbed wire to deny your opponent covers all of a sudden become hugely advantageous again, because again, cover is now so much more important. So again, being able to deny to your opponent is all of a sudden even greater. So there's a lot of these things here sort of keeping in mind. Of course, I'll sort of be going over in the Propagandacast layer. But overall, I'm liking this. Yes, it's not perfect. There's a little bit more work to do. But overall, it's leading to a much better way and a much better road, and overall something a lot more interesting, I feel like. So that's rather my opinion on it. If you are interested, if you don't like it, well, of course, sucks to be you. This is Imperial Dane signing out, and see you tomorrow.